Good day, registered nurses. Welcome to our information session. This is your registered migration agent, Renante Sulit, with MARA number 1382407, speaking all the way here from the national office in Melbourne. Today, I have assessed your qualifications as meeting the standards of registration and criteria of migration set by the Australian government. I am going to present to you today the program Job Ready to Residency, program for nurses, registration to residency through outcomes-based assessment with PTE made easy. And this will make your dreams come true. So what is RPS Migration Services? So RPS Migration Services is an immigration firm based here in Melbourne, and it is being managed by yours truly, Renante Sulit, a registered migration agent here in Australia with MARA number 1382407. We have our offices in key locations such as Australia, Dubai, Singapore, and Philippines. We have our partner with Premium Employer for Nurses in Australia, and we are also accredited by several institutions here in Australia, and we have the key program for registration to residency. RPS Migration Services has been in this industry for almost a decade now, and we are very successful in sending in so many nurses here in Australia with 100% batting average in our residency program and working visa. RPS Migration is holding seminar and has been holding seminars in various locations all over the world together with our employers. So we do conduct our seminars in Dubai, in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Singapore, and in different cities and provinces in the Philippines. So when our employer is with us in our seminars, they are conducting the interview so that it will become faster for you to migrate to Australia. So that is one of the advantage of having or being with the RPS migration. As you can see, we have our partner employer and you have your registered migration agent. Many nurses would like to meet RPS migration team, especially the registered migration agent myself, because I can solve their problems, or if they have questions, I can really answer their questions right away, especially with regard to the pathway of registration here in Australia and their migration in Australia. So whenever I contact consultation, I see to it that all questions are answered. Look at these nurses who are now happy here in Australia. So they just consulted me a few years back, and now some of them are permanent residents and some of them are already citizens here in Australia. Here you will see as well, I conduct different seminars in different locations. It's a full-on seminar and it's jam-packed. You will see their nurses coming to see RPS migration team, and also you will see them arriving in Australia on different dates and to do their registration process. So that's what you can get from us, the RPS migration team. So why Australia? Maybe you have Googled so many things to answer your questions and you have read a lot of things about Australia, and it makes you excited because migrating to Australia would be the best decision in your life if you want to change your situation right now, if you want to be in a first world country where you are being valued and where nurses are being valued by the employer. So Australia is really the place to be. So many nurses are now here and they are happy working in different hospitals facilities, clinics, and different establishments here in Australia. Not only they become registered nurses, but also they become residents through our program. So now I'm going to discuss more of the advantages as well of why you have to choose Australia and why nurses choose Australia over other countries in the world. Why Australia? Because Australia is one of the world's top 5 countries that give nurses a high pay package. How's that? Based on their specialization and experience, a registered nurse receives an average of $55,000 to $72,000 a year. In Australia, the healthcare industry is constantly rising, and there are almost 30,000 new openings for nursing jobs each year. So because it is part of the regulation that an employer here cannot pay you lower than 52,000. So the average um the average pay of a nurse here is between 55 to $72,000 a year, and it could be higher depending on your skill set, depending on the length of your experience. That this is why nurses want to really fly to Australia, work here in Australia. You will be surprised to know why nurses choose Australia. So, aside from those that are available online, these reasons are from my clients. And some of my clients are from UK who moved to Australia, from Ireland who moved to Australia, and from the US moving to Australia. And why is that happening? What is that? Why are they moving to Australia? What could be the advantages of Australia over UK, over Ireland, or over Canada or United States of America? Here are some of the reasons of nurses whom I interviewed, and some of them are my clients, and they say that nurses in Australia are not being displaced, unlike in other countries wherein when they were working before as an ICU nurse and when they work in that country, they were placed in aged care. So I have so many nurses who told me that before they were working as uh, a general nurse or a medical surgical, and they were placed in an aged care. Here in Australia, it doesn't happen that way. Once you are classified as medical surgical nurse or an ICU nurse, you will be working as such in the facility. You are not going to be displaced. So pathway to residency is faster than UK, Ireland, or United States of America. Yes, because once you get your registration here in Australia, RPS migration will process right away your residency because it is skill based. Your residency is based on your skill. That's why logically, once you get your registration here, it opens the door to residency. So you cannot become a resident here in Australia without becoming a nurse because your residency depends on your registration as a nurse. Unlike in other countries, say for example in Canada, they are making nurses as residents, but not nurse right away because they have to study and everything, and that is what's happening in Canada. Now, the cost of migration is cost effective here in Australia. Though you are going to invest on your registration, the return of your investment is so huge that you'll be working as a nurse, and in just in a few months' time, you will be getting it back because of your salary, because of the benefits that they are giving nurses here in Australia. And Australia is also a good place for the family, especially for the kids, no? If when you are a resident here in Australia, your kids will have free education. Of course, the government will look after you, and of course, this is the most livable country in the world. The pay rates are higher than any other country, and that is a fact. And it is nearer to the home country, like the Philippines or India. That's why many nurses are moving here. There is no snow. Well, that would be your problem. So the snow here in Australia are in the Alpines, no? So you will never see snow here in CBD or just outside the suburbs. So because the snow is in the Alpines, and this is one of the reasons why nurses from Philippines, from India would like to be here. As well, it's cold, no? It's cold. Here in Melbourne, we have four seasons in a day. You have always your jackets with you, and it's very nice. The transportation, it will not be an issue to you. There are buses, trams, also the trains, and this will make your transportation very easy and very accessible. The transportation is very accessible. How much do nurses earn, right? So once you get your working visa and you'll be applying for the job, or my employer gave you the job. So here, this is a sample of how much a nurse earns. It's about 94,255 Australian dollars a year. As you can see in my previous presentation, I told you that it is between 55 to $75,000 a year. But depending on your skill set, you see, it's 94,255,000 a year. So that is a registered nurse medical. Please note that RPS Migration is not a recruitment firm. Whenever you get a job, it's because of your registration. I am just connecting you to the employer for interview, and if they will give you a job offer, they will process your visa. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So that's how much nurses earn here in Australia. Look at our newly arrived registered nurses here in Australia. They are from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from the UAE, such as Abu Dhabi or Dubai. They are now here in Australia to complete their registration. We engaged them from the start. We assisted them from the start. We have been assisting them from the start, from documentation, from passing their NCLEX, from passing every percentage of English, and then processing the visa. And they are now here in Australia. Look, that is our office in Australia, and I'm happy to meet them. And they're now completing their registration here. Some of our nurses are coming here either to take NCLEX, or either to complete their OSCE, or either they are doing the aged care or other disability courses or other vocational courses. Depending on your reasons, you are coming here to complete your registration, no? Regardless of what you are doing or you want to do here in Australia, RPS Migration directs you to complete your registration, because that is where you are going to open your opportunities for the jobs, or you're going to open your opportunities for registration. And they are very excited. We are just having coffee here in Collins Street, no? The multi-million dollar street here in Melbourne. Another advantage of getting RPS migration is because our support in Australia, whenever you are here, especially in Melbourne, so you can just drop by to our office whenever you need something. For example, completing some documents for your work, for your registration here. So you can just visit our office. If you are interstate, we are also available through phone calls and through Zoom as well. One of the major questions that you have been asking yourself is how to get a job in Australia. Just like in the Philippines, before you got a job, and the employer will be asking you, are you a registered nurse here in the Philippines? So have you taken your board examination and get registered in the PRC. Or if you are working in Singapore or UAE or in Saudi Arabia, the first thing that the employer would see or would like to see is your registration, because that is where you separate yourself from the others. You are a registered nurse. Australia is no exception. Here in Australia, registration is mandatory. So you need to be registered with APRA. APRA is the Australian Health Practitioners Regulatory Authority. It's like PRC in the Philippines, wherein you will see the role of nurses. Once you get registered with APRA, then you can practice nursing here in Australia. It is illegal to practice nursing if you are not registered here in Australia. That's why here in Australia, the operating word is registration or registered. So that's why I'm called registered migration agent, because it is a profession here in Australia. You will be called as registered nurse. Okay, so Australian registered nurse. Now, it is required by the law for nurses to be registered, because Australia is very protective on its health industry or the public health. So, in order for you to get sponsorship for the job after getting your registration, you must ensure that you must have at least 2 years of experience in the last 5 years, whether it is paid or volunteer job, so that you will be eligible for sponsorship. Say for example, if you do not have 2 years of experience in the last 5 years, how can you get a job? So RPS Migration will proceed to processing of your residency visa, because once you get registered, once you get your residency here in Australia, you have full working rights. You don't need any sponsor in order to work. Okay, so you have full working rights. So this is how you get your job in Australia. First, you must have your registration done, and then whether or not you have 2 years of experience, you can apply for the job depending on your visa, depending on what kind of visa you are applying for. So the next question is, how can you be a registered nurse in Australia? So there are several ways on how to become a registered nurse in Australia. So first, you have the bachelor degree. Second, you have the Trans-Tasman recognition. It's the New Zealand pathway. Next is through a bridging course, and last is through the outcomes-based assessment. The bachelor degree is called the conversion course. Many of our nurses are also doing the conversion course in the universities, um, converting their bachelor degree from the Philippines to bachelor degree in Australia. So instead of taking it for 3 years, sometimes the university is giving you 1 year to complete it or 2 years to complete it. All right. So once you complete a Bachelor of Nursing, you are eligible to become a registered nurse here in Australia. The other side of the conversion course is the cost, which is around $35,000 a year, which is like 1 million pesos a year, and the intake is only a few right now. The the intakes are already full. So the trans-Tasman recognition is suitable for those nurses who are working in Singapore, in UK, in Ireland. So if you are working in Singapore as an RN registered nurse, you can apply for the Trans-Tasman. So all you need to do is to have IELTS or OET with you, and then RPS Migration can process your registration to New Zealand, and then through Trans-Tasman, your New Zealand registration will be recognized here in Australia, and then you can apply for the job and you can apply for residency. I also have that package for Singapore nurses, for nurses who are working in Singapore as an RN. So if you are working in UK, United Kingdom, or Ireland. So we can also do the Trans-Tasman without sitting for anything. So you are waiving your English, you are waiving the OBA, you are waiving many things. So for registration purposes, so I will get your registration be recognized in New Zealand, and then once it is recognized in New Zealand, I am going to have it recognized here in Australia, so that you can apply for the job, and of course, um, we can apply for residency as well. The bridging course is a thing of the past. Before, like 4 years, 5 years ago, there were a lot of nurses doing the bridging course. This is a 3 month, 6 month, 8 month courses. Um, Being accredited by APRA or accredited by APRA, once you finish it, then you are eligible to become registered nurses here in Australia. It's very popular before, and APRA has changed now the way they are registering internationally qualified nurses. So they scrap bridging course, and they did, what APRA did, is to give the OBA, no, to introduce the outcomes-based assessment. And that is the focus of our discussion for today. You will know more about the outcomes-based assessment, how we do it, how can you be registered through the OBA. The outcomes-based assessment is the newest approach of APRA in assessing internationally qualified nurses, and it is composed of two examinations such as NCLEX and OSCE. So, and you may sit NCLEX upon issuance of the letter of eligibility, and you may sit NCLEX whether in the Philippines or in Australia. And for the OSCE, you may sit only OSCE in Australia. And if you have a result of NCLEX from the United States of America, that can also be valid provided that the result is within the last 10 years. There are situations sometimes that the nurse is a registered nurse in the US, but their NCLEX had lapsed. So in that case, if that nurse has not practiced nursing in the US, that registration cannot be used to skip NCLEX in Australia. So again, the outcomes-based assessment, in summary, is composed of NCLEX, which is the theoretical phase of the examination, while the OSCE is the practical side of the examination. I will be discussing more about NCLEX and OSCE in the next presentation. So what are the requirements for the outcomes-based assessment? So what are the things that are needed in order for you to qualify? Here, we have a bachelor degree in nursing. So you must hold a bachelor degree in nursing. Sometimes in other countries, they have diploma of nursing. That doesn't qualify you for the OBA because you must hold a bachelor degree in nursing. In the Philippines, that is not a problem because before you can get your registration in the Philippines, you must be holding a bachelor degree in nursing. You must have an active nursing registration in the Philippines so that when APRA would check your registration in the Philippines, you are still on the roll of nurses in the Philippines. So the identity and school documents, so we are going to provide that to APRA, no, in your portal, such your passport and your transcript and your diploma, degree diploma, and other documents that APRA will require us to submit. And of course, there is a pre-assessment fee. Not until you pay your pre-assessment fee, then your application would not be processed. Okay. And so you will see that the requirements for the outcomes-based assessment does not include the experience, right? So this has been the center of the discussion in APRA, and why is recency of practice not included in the outcomes-based assessment process? Unlike in the bridging course before, there was a requirement of 3 months of experience in the last 5 years to show your recency of practice. But now in the OBA, even if you haven't practiced nursing for the longest time, you can still qualify for the outcomes-based assessment because you are going to take the examination. And once you pass this examination, regardless whether you have your experience or not, you will be registered here in Australia. And that is a great news to all nurses who have not practiced nursing for the longest time. Okay. But of course, it's a more good news for nurses who have been practicing their nursing profession for a long time. The first stage of the examination of the outcomes-based assessment is the NCLEX. So this is just the same of NCLEX US. However, before you can sit for NCLEX Australia, you must have a referral coming from APRA. So once we submit all your documents to APRA, they are going to give us a letter of eligibility, and we are going to use that letter of eligibility to apply for authority to test. Once it is out, we can book for the NCLEX online. So our case officers at RPS Migration are very capable of assisting you to book for the NCLEX, whether you take NCLEX in the Philippines or whether you take your NCLEX here in Australia. So NCLEX is being delivered by Australian Certified Trainers, the sister company of RPS Migration here in Australia. So they have I think 8 trainers who are delivering the NCLEX, and every intake is composed of 10 sessions, and they are meeting every week. There are live sessions. Say, for example, you didn't catch the live session, there is a recorded lecture for our nurses so that they can access it whenever and wherever they want to access it. Our trainers here in Australia are registered nurses in Australia, registered nurses in the US. There are clinicians, professors in the universities. As mentioned, so the Australian Certified Trainers is conducting the review online. It is facilitated by the Australian Certified Trainers. Here in Australia, before you can deliver a certain lecture or a certain before you can teach a certain skill, you must be registered. You must be an accredited trainer. And Australian Certified Trainers is a pool of trainers, highly capable, excellent skill set, so that they can help you pass the NCLEX exam. So there are live sessions airing from Australia, no, reaching all nurses via Zoom. Most of our nurses are in the Middle East, so they are using Zoom as a platform, and the lecturer is delivering the session live from Australia, and then they can discuss all those needed in the theoretical examination called NCLEX. And the platform can be accessed as well 24/7. Imagine how many nurses ACT has, because there are 8 trainers and our intakes are monthly. We have 10 students per intake, and this is unlimited for a year. Say, for example, after attending 10 sessions, and if you're not confident yet to pass the examination, you may join again another intake as long as it is within the year. We are helping a lot of nurses pass it, and our batting average for the ACT is 98%.
So most of the things that I would want to always emphasize to you is avoiding the what if question. So remember, as I've mentioned prior, and I think I have repeatedly mentioned everything to you, that NCLEX is fortunately a theoretical exam. So you don't
For your last class assessment, that's the average for the class. That's below minimum, but again,
Strategies for the week is the use of your ABCs. So with the use of your ABCs, obviously it's always going to be airway first, bleeding in your circulation, but it's not the case most of the time. Yun lang.
Here is a sample of your fluid chart. you have two charts. You have your hourly fluid balance chart and you have your summary.
Here are some of the results of the NCLEX passers at Australian Certified Trainers. They have hundreds and hundreds of passers, and we are very happy with the way they are accomplishing their program. It's excellent because all our nurses from overseas are very convenient with regard to the schedule, with regard to the way they are communicating with the lecturer because they speak the language. That's one of the things that we can assure. And whenever they have questions, they can ask. And this is really I mind blowing because they are just preparing at while they are working in their original station. Say, for example, all those our nurses in the Saudi Arabia, while they are working in Saudi Arabia, they are completing the NCLEX. And then once they are ready, they are flying to the Philippines in order to take it, or whether they are want to fly to Australia in order to take it as well. Pearson test of English is the English requirement we are offering to our clients in order to satisfy the English requirement of registration as well as migration. And we are also providing the review, and yours truly is the Pearson headmaster. So I am in charge of your preparation for your Pearson test of English so that you can pass it easily. So it is a computer-based test, and there is no human intervention. It can be taken anywhere in the world, and I facilitate that every week. No, I have intakes. Each intake is composed of 5 sessions, but it is also unlimited. So whenever you feel you are not confident yet to take the examination, you may join again my intakes, and it is fun because I love teaching. Do you know that my pre-law is teaching? So that's why I really love teaching. I really love to coach students. And most of our nurses just take it, just took Pearson test of English in one go. And most of them got the perfect score. Okay, so because my session or my strategy is directed to achieve not only your registration requirement, but also to have an additional point in migration. Because if you get like 79 above in reading, writing, listening, and speaking, you have 20 points in migration, and you will have person test of English. Say, for example, read aloud, repeat sentence, describe image, retell lecture, something like that. So it this person test of English has made so many nurses become registered nurses here in Australia and residents here in Australia. That's why I'm telling you, you really have to take this person test of English, and this is also our advantage. At the middle, while you are preparing for your OSCE and when you have passed your NCLEX, I will be meeting you for person tests of English. How cool is that, right? This is a sample of the result of Pearson tests of English. As you can see, 90, 82, 87, and 86. This is a superior score because there is no band lower than 79. And this is equivalent to all 8, and this is equivalent to all A in OET, so that you will be having 20 points in migration, in listening, reading, speaking, and writing. 90 is the perfect score. Imagine that. And I have here a very good testimonial from one of our clients who passed it easily. He says RPS English Language Review Program for PTE is highly commendable. I only had less than a month of preparation due to my hectic schedule at work, yet I was able to achieve my target score with flying colors. RPS Review has unique system in place up-to-date review materials, and excellent teaching strategy that help me absorb the lessons and techniques with ease. For me, RPS is a top of choice for working moms, dads, and anyone with limited time to review. With RPS system, your passing score is guaranteed. Thank you so much for that wonderful thoughts about my PTE review. Look at the results of our clients. They have 90 in listening, 84 in reading, and 90 in speaking and writing. So that's 20 points in migration. Another one, 85, 82, 89, 79. That's 20 points in migration. I want you to get the same score. So you will not be sitting that long in the invitation round of the immigration. Once you get that, so you will be permanent residents here in Australia the soonest time possible. And I want you to get that. No, we are going to make things possible for you and just give the best shot of your life when we do this because this is possible. Imagine who would have thought that they would be getting 90 points, right? So you can do that as well. So once we are done with the NCLEX and with Pearson Test of English, we are going to have the review of the objective structured clinical examination. This is the second stage of the OBA. So we are going to process your visa in coming here to Australia. But before that, there will be preliminaries that will be delivered online. So because ACT is delivering the OSCE review in two phases. One is online and the second one is face-to-face. In online review, we have the preliminary, say for example, communication or the risk assessment that will be delivered online for 3 weeks. Objective structured clinical examination is composed of 10 stations, and you are going to be tested for each station, and the passing score is 7 out of 10. And it is only given in Australia. That's why many of our nurses from the Philippines, from Singapore, from Dubai, and from Saudi Arabia, they are flying direct from their original station to Australia. But before they sit for their OSCE in Adelaide, they are going to be in Melbourne to have that face-to-face for 2 weeks intensive training. After 2 weeks, you may have your own practice in our Medi space in Melbourne so that you will get the hang of it. No, I know that you are um, you are well experienced with regard to nursing, but you have to marry that to Australian standards. And our clients are getting 10 out of 10 results. And we are very happy with the result of ACT because it is the only provider for NCLEX and OSCE for the OBA training that is suited for our clients. Imagine they are preparing you online, and then while they are here in Australia, before you sit for the examination, you are going to have that face to face. And once you pass it, then you are eligible to become a registered nurse here in Australia. Let's have a look on the features of OSCE training of Australian certified trainers. They say that the highly qualified Australian registered trainers, practitioners, and educators will help you recall and become more familiar with important clinical processes. There will be 3 weekly preparatory online lecture sessions with intensive discussion on evidence-based scenarios and rationale, up to 4 weeks of intensive face-to-face coaching sessions, including 2 weeks of self-directed practice session of ACT Medispace of OSCE simulated lab in Melbourne. So this means to say that there will be a 2 week intensive training, and the next 2 weeks will be at your own pace if you would love to have that 4 weeks, to complete that 4 weeks. But majority of our nurses from the Middle East, because they just filed their leaves, they are just doing the 2 intensive trainings and they are getting 10 out of 10. So we also have the unlimited hands-on practice at ACT Medispace, access to virtual simulations of medical and surgical scenarios as well. These and more are the features of OSCE training of Australian certified trainers. Imagine the ACT Medispace is just at the heart of Melbourne in Collins Street. It's very accessible. You will never be lost. And we are the only Filipino Australian that is conducting this in Australia. To add on the features, so we have also the OSCE mock test facilitated by our trainers, feedback on how your performance comply with Australian standards of nursing, access to the recorded lectures, video demos, and other online learning materials 24/7, helping you to practice even on the go. With our OSCE training and coaching, you will understand and familiarize yourself with the whole OSCE process using Australian standards assessment criteria, unlimited inclusion of our online and face-to-face classes for 12 months. To give you an idea of the stations that are given in the actual examinations, there will be a station for basic life support. We have the aseptic non-technique. We have the medication administration, the blood transfusion, vital signs, IV fluid administration, risk assessment, focus nursing, pain assessment, and communication. So there will be 10. So the passing score is 7 out of 10. And each station is 10 minutes. So each of you or each of the nurses will have different stations because it's like round robin. Some of the nurses are having basic life support as station 1, others have it as station 2, so on and so forth. So this is to give you a brief overview of what is happening in OSCE. As mentioned, the OSCE Online of ACT is the review. They are going to have the preliminaries and the 3-week preparatory online lecture sessions with intensive discussion on evidence-based scenarios and rationality. So while you are waiting for your visa, so you are finalizing, you are already reviewing, no, for your OSCE. Look at our successful nurses who are now registered in Australia. So they did an amazing job. They just smashed the OSCE examinations, scoring 10 out of 10. No, the passing score is 7 out of 10. Here they are together with our trainers. They are now registered nurses in Australia, and some of them have received their working visa and others are waiting for their residency. Some of them went back to their original station, and others are waiting on shore. So I am very happy with the result of Australian certified trainers, and they are amazing. They are amazing nurses. Look at them. So they are listening to our trainers and what to do. So and what to expect in the actual examination with regard to the recording, with regard to the communication and other things. They are easily addressed. They are meticulously addressed by our trainers. And whenever you have questions, you may ask questions so that you're not going to ask questions in the actual examination. That is the time for you to ask questions, for you to clear some things that are in doubt, that are not clear to you. So this is really giving you a good advantage. So because not only you are understanding the Australian healthcare system, but you are also understanding the culture, and you are not having that culture shock when you take the examination, right? And this is really an amazing journey that you will go through once you sign up with the outcomes-based assessment of RPS migration. Let's look at the results of the OSCE. This is a sample of a 10 out of 10 results of the OSCE. The passing score again is 7 out of 10, but look, our candidate just scored 10 out of 10, and most of them are above standard. This is what you will get when you pass your OSCE. So after 6 weeks from your actual examination, you will be receiving your result, and it's like that. And once you receive that, that will be the happiest day of your life. And from the start of to getting your registration, we are there in every step of the way. And it's very good to have someone to guide you on this journey, because you are not you will not be lost. And RPS just on point on what to do next. We have our documentation team, we have our ACT team to help you pass all of this. All right. So the question is, what happens next, right? After getting your registration in APRA, so what happens next? So if you have been interviewed and receive a job offer from our partner employer, they will initiate the working visa application. Your visa may be processed while you are waiting for your registration, and you may wait for the working visa either in Australia or in your original station. Remember earlier, the first thing that you might be asking yourself is how to get a job in Australia. Now this is the time that you are applying for the job. You are getting the job because you are qualified. You are already a registered nurse, and the employer will process your visa, and this is the transition period. And this you can include your family in the working visa. Other employers are processing your visa first to avoid the delay, and then after a month or 2 months, your family will be joining with you, just the immediate family if you are married. Working visa or subclass 482 at RPS Migration is under the Job Ready department. Our Job Ready head is Miss Tess Fisher. She is a lawyer here in Australia, and she is in charge of the processing of our subclass 482 visa, of course, under my supervision as well. And we have been maintaining the 100% batting average for the process of 482. We never had any refusal because we are very meticulous with regard to your documentation. To share with you again how much do nurses earn, we have here 94,255. Please note that the employers here in Australia cannot give you lower than $53,000 a year. 50 so your salary would start from $53,000 up, so it might go as high as 94 or 100,000, okay, depending on your skill set. Let's talk about the timeline of the Job Ready program to residency, right? From the start to getting your registration. So from engagement to getting ready for NCLEX is 6 to 8 months, because the processing of APRA is 3 months. After 3 months, the processing of ATT is another 3 months. So that is already 6 months, no? And then you are going to have a review. So give yourself 6 to 8 months, and you are NCLEX ready, whether you take your NCLEX in the Philippines or whether you take your NCLEX in Australia. So give yourself 6 to 8 months. And then getting ready to take the OSCE is 3 months. So the timeline for registration alone is less than a year or a year, depending on your capability in passing all those examinations attached to OBA. All right, so the registration is less than a year. With regard to the flowchart of the application at RPS Migration, we have engagement at RPS Migration is the first stage. The second would be the processing of the LOE, or the letter of eligibility at APRA, and it takes 3 months. Then the review of NCLEX with Australian certified trainers, no, side by side with the processing of the letter of eligibility. And then the processing of authority to test takes 3 months, and then taking of NCLEX either in PH or in Australia. So from there, engagement to taking, give yourself 6 or 8 months. And then the processing of the business visa for OSCE takes a month. Then once you pass your OSCE, you're going to get your registration with APRA, and then you may apply for the job, and then the processing of the residency visa. This is the flow chart of the application at RPS Migration. Okay. If we are going to have the timeline of application in a tabular form, so we have the duration here, the block of work, and the details. In your first week, we have the self-application, and the client has to coordinate with the designated case officer. And then in the second week, scheduling of NCLEX OSC review will be given to the client, and RPS case officer has endorsed the client to ACT. And then on the 12th week, you will be receiving your letter of eligibility, and we will be assisting in making the authority to test. And on the 20th, client must have finished review of either NCLEX or OSCE. RPS checks the readiness of the client. So on the 24th week, so the client takes NCLEX test. And then on the 28th week, if NCLEX is passed, OSCE training is scheduled. And then on the 36th week, scheduling of OSCE test and training, and we have the processing of the business visa. And then the 42nd week, you are registered in Australia, and we also have the assistant post the outcomes-based assessment. Now, coming to Australia is really an investment, and I'm going to present to you the costs and charges that you may incur in the process of the outcomes-based assessment towards residency. And as a heads up, no, the fees at in this program are divided into government fees and the processing fee. The government fees are payable to Australian government or third-party organization on schedule. So it is like pay as you go. So for example, when we lodge APRA assessment, so you are going to pay the APRA assessment fee, which is like $647. And then we have the Pearson test of English, so you're going to pay that when you take it. NCLEX testing fee, OSCE testing fee, OBA training fee payable to Australian certified trainers. And we also have the international criminal history check when we apply the registration. Okay, so you already passed everything, and you are applying for the registration, and you are paying for the international criminal history check. And of course, you're going to pay for the registration fee. So these are the costs and charges of registration. And these are government fees payable directly to the Australian government, to the third-party organization on schedule. I am going to send the list. Now, I'm going to send a quotation to you if you are going to request for it. So you may WhatsApp me, or you may ask your case officer to send you a quotation, no, of the fees, because we are sending them upon request. On the other hand, the processing fee at RPS Migration is a progressive billing, meaning to say, if there is something happening in your application, if that is developing, you are paying us. If there is nothing happening in your application, you're not paying us. So that's why it's cost effective. You know that you are being handled well, and you are being assisted well at RPS Migration. So here are the costs and charges of registration, and I can send you the quotation upon request. Then, once you get registered in APRA, you are now job ready. Okay, so you are ready for the job. Some people are misunderstanding the job ready program. They thought that I am going to give them a job. If you're going to analyze job ready, it's making you ready for the job, meaning I can assist you for your registration in order for you to be ready for the job here in Australia and for nurses. And that's why RPS Migration is not a recruitment firm. If there is an interview happening on the side, that is just a bonus. We are just connecting you to the employer. My clients are engaging RPS Migration because I am processing not only registration, but also the residency. It's more than a job. Residency, becoming one of us here in Australia, is everybody's dream. So once you get registered, you are job ready. Excellent. So we are now in the final stretch of your application, and this is the residency process. So this is the most important of all, how to become a resident here in Australia. Because while you are sitting on your working visa, so I am processing your residency visa so that when it comes out, your working visa will be gone. You can work with many employers as you want. So residency process is a point tested system, must score at least 65 points with your attributes. You must have no medical condition, no criminal record, must be a registered nurse, and you must have a valid skills assessment. So this will be handled by myself because from the start, I know that you will be getting it, that you will be getting your permanent residency, and I have a 100% batting average. From the moment you engage me, I know that you will be getting it as long as we preserve the um, the the variables that have been assessed, no, prior to engagement. So you must keep healthy, you must not incur any criminal liability, something like that. Okay, so with regard to the residency process, once you get registered, the residency process kicks off. Okay, so look at our registered nurses, no? So from different locations, so they are now permanent resident in Australia. So what are the advantages of becoming a permanent resident in Australia? So number one is that while you are sitting on a working visa, as mentioned, once your residency visa is out, no, you can work with many employers as you want. Another one, you'll be eligible with the Medicare and other benefits. Say, for example, for the education of the kids, it will be free. You are eligible for the loans, you are eligible for to buy the house here in Australia. So, and the government will give you that $10,000 housing house grant. Okay, so for every permanent resident who would like to buy his first home, so you have a home grant of $10,000. How cool is that? RPS migration is family oriented, so we would like the family to join together in the application. So for example, for the working visa, if they process first the main applicant, there is a reason why to avoid delay, and they are getting the um, dependents on the subsequent visa. With permanent residents, we all together apply because we know that when you are all here in Australia and there will be no delay that will happen in your application. So many nurses are choosing to become permanent residents here in Australia. That's why I remember those nurses from the UK, those nurses from Ireland, they are coming over to Australia. They are transferring to Australia because they want residency. They want the security of tenure. Because if you are on a working visa, you can be sacked anytime, or uh if things get worse, say for example in a facility, and you will get redundant. But that is not happening with nurses here in Australia. But at any rate, I would like it to I want to secure your tenure, no? So if you become a resident, you are one of us, and the government can help you whenever you lost your job. Now look, how are they after getting the residency? So how are our nurses after getting the residency? All right, so you will see that they are buying their own home. They are very young. They have their own house and lot. Imagine when they were in the Philippines or in the Middle East, they don't have such houses. And after 2 years of working here in Australia, you are eligible to do it because the bank will allow you to apply for the loans, and then you can buy your own house. You can buy your own car. And the first homeowners here in Australia are very young, especially nurses. That's why many real estate agents are asking me, where are my nurses? And because they are helping them get their first home in Australia. I am very proud of them. And after all those years, because our relationship as a migration agent and a client will last for about a minimum of 2 years, and I would like to see you as a permanent resident in Australia, a registered nurse in Australia, and you are applying for citizenship in the next 4 years. You are working as a nurse, you are living with your family and with your own house and car. How cool is that? You are totally changing your life 100%. And the amount of money that you have invested in your future is so small. Imagine, that's why I am encouraging a lot of nurses to grab this opportunity because RPS migration has what it takes. We do have what it takes. We have our training center. I am a registered migration agent, and we are everywhere. So this is your chance. This is your chance to change your life 100%. Look at them, the family. They are now citizens in Australia, and I am very, very happy, very proud to my RPS ambassadors. And you might be next. So the question that you might be asking right now is how to start. So you may inform our case officer that you are engaging so that um, they can make an appointment with me to talk to you. And if you are being assessed by myself, I will be sending you a note. Do you have some questions or do you want a code? And then if you are engaging, we are going to have a conversation. So for those who are really interested 100%, they want to be part of this program, they want to migrate to Australia to change their lives 100%, you, they are going to have a conversation with me and ready to start. Again, thank you so much. This is your registered migration agent, Renante Sulit, with MARA number 1382407. Good luck.